All right, we are at least live for anybody who's waiting in the YouTube or Facebook rooms. I don't even know what they call them. That's how good I am at this. I have no idea. You get what you pay for. I actually spent the afternoon on the phone, and I was chatting um, with Google, which I will say that pretty good customer service. I was impressed, but I couldn't post any YouTube shorts. Every time I did, it would come up and say add details and get stuck, and it was really, really frustrating because I'm not great at this stuff anyway. And but they actually talked to me. My wait was less than 1 minute. So good job, YouTube. I'm pretty happy with all that.
That's
What's up,
good.
Caleb? Caleb, I did get your message, and Karen scolded me for not returning it. I promise. But we will figure something out. I'm leaving town Friday, and I've got an idea that I want to share with you. So probably I will. I'll call you from down there, and we'll work it out. But I've got an idea for you for the show that I think is a pretty good one. I got to discuss it with Andrew because Andrew's mean. So you got to run things by him.
Send all hate mail to.
All hate mail to Andrew but mostly Disney.com. All right, so we're almost on time. Not too bad for us. But I guess let's get going because we got lots to talk about. Hey guys, welcome to the But Mostly Disney podcast. There's my my opening voice, and I'm Tater here in sultry Virginia Beach, and my friend on the other end in Charleston, South Carolina, Andrew. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. How's everybody doing tonight?
Well, if you're asking me, because I'm the only one that can answer except for our guest, I'm doing great. After a very frustrating day of not getting everything, I've got a lot going on. I'm juggling a lot of pies, if that's an expression. But tonight, I'm excited. So we had Andrew from Accessible Andrews by Andrew on, and he talked a lot about what he does from a wheelchair and the accessibility, mainly of the cruises, but we drifted into the parks as well. But there's also, and I've experienced some elation and some frustration with a buddy of mine whose child needs the DAS pass or I was going to say Disney Disability Access Service. That's good audio, right? And so Karen's here because she uses it when she goes, and it's something obviously I don't. So I want to know more about it, and I think it's something it sounds like something you definitely need to plan ahead for. Karen, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Karen's one of our greatest fans, and we love her dearly. And we met her, as always, through Lou's WDW radio group, which really this is not affiliated like The Incredibles. Not affiliated with you, but we do kind of give him a lot of credit for anything that goes on here because he's the inspiration and keeps us going.
Yes.
Karen, but I know Karen's been on before, so she's our second repeat guest. Tell us a little bit about your Disney origin story and how you became a Disney person.
Okay, so long time ago. I grew up watching Disney. My mother loved the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, the Mickey Mouse Club when she was little. So Nat Funicello was her favorite. And so growing up, we always watched that, and The Wonderful World of Disney was always on TV, every week. And I had a lot of the albums that were books, like they had the Small World one from Disneyland where you listen, and when you hear the chime, you flip the page, type of thing. I had a lot of the Disney books like that. We had a lot of I don't know if you remember, like there would be a thing of books that like you'd get like one each month or like three each month, and you would pay like $5 a month, and it would come in this little they had this little like book stand that you could put the books in. We had all of those. So just Mickey was everywhere. I had a Mickey Mouse record player everywhere. So in 1979, when I was about 6.5 years old, we went to Disney, and I just fell in love with the place. you walk in and you just feel like everybody's, on the same, um, on the same wavelength. I mean, like nobody's treated better than anybody, and no one is treated like less than. You walk through that gate. I mean, we were staying at the Motel 6 across the street and eating at Denny's, and um,
Oh yeah.
but but when we walked through that gate, it was like we were saying, well, the Grand Floridian wasn't there at the time, but like we were staying at the Polynesian or the Contemporary, the Wilderness Lodge. We were treated just the same, and so that really stuck with me. And the place was amazingly clean. I mean, like no other park I'd ever been to before in my life, and everyone was just so nice. And so I remember we were watching the stage show. They were singing and dancing, and what I learned later, they were called Kids of the Kingdom, and they were high schoolers who um, performed and like show choir, singing and dancing. And we were watching that show, and I leaned over to my dad and I said, "Someday I'm going to work here. That's what I'm going to do that." And my dad's like, "Sure, honey, sure." And so my mom kind of took a picture of us while we were standing there watching that stage show. And so I kind of have a picture of the moment that I told my dad I was going to work there. Jump ahead to 2003. I'm 30 years old and I'm in college again. I have two children at the time. And I was a hospitality and tourism major. And I walked into the cafeteria and there was little things on the table that said, "Be part of the Disney CP program." And I was like, and so I went home and I was, talking to my husband at the time. I was like, "I really want to do this." And he's like, "Well," he says, he's was military. He says, "I've done lots of deployments and you've stayed at home." He says, "Why don't we have your mom come and stay and, and you can do this." So I went and I applied for it and I got accepted. And that fall, I went for 4.5 months and I worked at Disney World. It was
Wow.
awesome.
That's
It
cool.
was the best time ever.
And you were in the military too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did this before you went in the military.
No,
After.
I was in the military before.
Okay.
Met my now ex-husband. We met in the military.
Okay.
And then I went when my two older children went to school. When they got into school, then I went back to college. And
Okay.
so I was 30 years old when I did my CP program, and everybody around me was like 18, 19, 20, 21. It was so much fun.
But that's interesting. And I do. So this is the problem. Like I always have questions. So my kids had looked at the college program as well, but the timing's kind of weird, right? Like it doesn't seem like you can just go in the summer and do it. It's like, do you take time off from school to do it? How does it work?
Well, so I took 3 classes while I was there. So you take a semester, and you can take classes while you're there, or you can just, it all
Okay.
depends on whether your school will take the credit.
Gotcha.
So you have to
Okay.
talk to your advisor and stuff like that. Um, I was in the hospitality and tourism program, so they were like, "Sure, no
Right.
problem." And and the college program had already come and talked to the school, and they were ready to take credits anyways and stuff. But some of them, and here's the reason why they don't do um, summer program only. It's one of the craziest times of the year, and so you don't want to throw anybody.
You're right. That
you
makes
know,
sense.
True.
it's like taking a non-swimmer and saying, here's the deep end, and like shoving them out. So like even with my program, I did fall, and so I got there at the end of August. So it was kind of winding down, and like I was doing traditions and stuff first. So by the time I actually got to the turnstiles at Magic Kingdom, it was September. So like a lot of people had left.
Gotcha.
And so you kind of like get into the groove of things, and then you hit Thanksgiving, and then you hit Christmas, and so
Right.
and after Christmas, you stay until after New Year's, and then the program.
That's cool. We could I have questions. We should probably just move on because maybe we come back and do a whole like college program show. Because again, I know my son wants to do it, but he's in an engineering program and he has sports. He rows, so it's hard for him to figure out a time to do it. And I'm wondering if maybe later to intern. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So. There are a couple things when you said that about eating at Denny's. I think when we went in 75 or 76, I think we actually had a cooler and came out and ate lunch at the car and went back in, right? Because a lot of people did that, right? You know, they used to have those little even places, little picnic areas on the side of the highway, and you'd pull over and eat. And I love the idea, and it makes me so happy to hear you say that we are, you know, all equal on a Disney level, right? Like, or like, even if we're not, like the dorkiest Disney kid is cooler than the coolest outsider to me. You know, there is a hierarchy, I'm sure, but I don't see as much of it as it goes on. That being said, we are not all equal in what we need at Disney, right? Some of us need more or less than others. And that's what I'm interested in. So just, I tell you what, there's two things that are on the top of my head, and then I'm just going to let you guide it. But let's talk about real quickly what the DAS Pass is and what it does. And then after that, let's go. And if you experience this, I'll be interested to hear about a year ago when they started changing things, how that affected you. Because I think there was definitely some frustration. And again, because I don't use it, I don't get to see it firsthand as much.
Not really any frustration, and more of it was like a kind of a panic mode, because I was like, I've used this for years, and now there's like this interview thing, and I was like, is this gonna? Because I got on, and I'll tell you. Okay, so what it is now is you go on to
Well, first tell us
app.
what it is. Tell us what DAS Pass is, just in case somebody doesn't know.
All right, so because my memory is terrible, because I'm the mom of three, it's the DAS Pass is the disability accessibility. Oh, I just had it.
Service?
But okay,
it's a disability pass. It's
right, and they've changed it, right?
Yes. So the people that they are aiming this at to help with are the ones that are neurodivergent.
So if you have a broken leg, you're
the,
not getting a DAS Pass, right?
No. Right. You just will sit in a wheelchair and you'll go to the handicap accessibility.
Right.
But so this is to help those, like, okay, so I have 3 kids on the autism spectrum. 2 of them, if you were to put them on in a regular queue, by the time we got 10 minutes in, would be that would be the end of it. They can't handle crowds, the noise, it's too much. It's overstimulation, and that would be the end of our trip. So in order for him to be able to experience the rides, we have to exclude that experience, which is kind of sad, because I remember the first time that I went back in 96, they were just starting to do these really cool queues, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, you know. And then I went with my kids, and we went in 99, and we saw some of them again, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then we went in, by the time we went back in 2005, I was like, there was no way my middle child was going to be able to go into those queues, because he wears headsets. He just can't. We go to a NASCAR race, and one of us has always taken him to go walk around, because he can't sit with all those people. Movie theaters, you have to go at like off times, those types of things. So they were like, okay, how can we take out this queue part of the experience for them? And so they came up with this DAS Pass, where it's not like Fast Pass. It's not like cutting the line. It's you take the app, and on it, once you get accepted for the DAS Pass, there'll be a little thing that says, it says DAS Pass. You click on it. So say we're at Magic Kingdom that day, and we want to go on the Jungle Cruise. So we'll go up and we'll click on the Jungle Cruise, and it'll say, come back at this time. And so we are in line. It's like we just got into the queue for that ride. And right now there is a 25-minute wait for Jungle Cruise. So our time to come back will be 25 minutes from, let's say it was 7 o'clock in the morning. 7:25 is when we will come back. So up until that point, now you can, as soon as you walk through the gate, once you go through the turnstiles, you can click on that DAS pass and get in line for the Jungle Cruise.
So it shows up
So
in
if
your
we
app?
have,
It shows up in your app?
yeah, it's in the app. It's
Okay.
in the, like if you click on the, let me open the app here so I can, when you go to the Disney World app, it's opening slowly.
Take your time. It's all
And
right.
you go, yep, and you go to the little hamburger at the bottom. I'm really bad with this camera thing. You go to the little hamburger at the bottom and you click on it and you'll get this menu like this. The light there, it says lightning lane,
Okay.
things like that. The DAS pass will usually end up being the last one that shows up and these little set of boxes. The DAS pass will. So you'll click on that and it's just like how you sign up for the lightning lane passes. So you click on it and you'll say, okay, we want to go to, like I said, Jungle Cruise. And then you have 25 minutes before you can show up at the queue, at the turnstile for the Jungle Cruise. Now during that time, so if I didn't click on it until we were in Adventureland, we could go, if like Tiki Room had like a 5-minute wait, or they were just opening the doors and everyone was going in, hey, let's go to Tiki Room while we're waiting. That'll take up most of the time. So we could go into the Tiki Room and watch the show. Oh, we've got 5 more minutes. Let's go use the bathrooms, or let's go look around this little shop. But you don't have to come back right at 7:25.
Okay.
You could come back at 8:30. As long as it's after that time that they give you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like you have to okay, we got to be back here at this time and everybody rush. And so,
because that would kind of defeat the purpose, right?
right.
Like you're already having trouble. Now you've got to rush this, poor kid along. So,
right. And usually if he's in a mode where he's like, Mom, I want to look at the stuff in the gift shop, and you could be there while he's, looking in the pins, and you don't want to, because if once you say, don't look at the pins, you could have a moment.
right.
So you kind of want to say, all right, when you're done, we can go on Jungle Cruise. How about let's go on the Jungle Cruise? Doesn't that sound like fun?
Right. Yeah. And then it's an arbitration you got to get through and do. That's hard.
Yeah.
Do you
have to make it sound like it's their decision.
And you do it as a group, like 4 or 5 people you can add in as a group. Is that
Yep.
correct?
There can be 4 in all. So there's the person who has the DAS pass plus 3 people
Okay.
from the party. Yep.
That's fair, right?
Yep.
Good.
The majority of people come with a family of 4.
I know. I not to drift off, but that's the problem with having 5. I'm a family of 5. Oh, win a
Right.
dream vacation for a family of 4. Everything's for a family of 4. So we would have been in trouble.
Yeah. The other thing you can do though is you can do like a ride swap.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
if you have the family of 5, then you can do, okay, 4 members go on, and then you can do a swap so that the other person can get on.
Gotcha. But okay, so I think it feels like, and you would know, it feels like they've got this down pretty well at the moment, correct?
Yeah.
Like, do you like the way it works? Does it help you? Does it?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yep. And even though like everyone's like, well, that doesn't get you through any faster. What about Fast Pass? And I'm like,
It's not the reason.
it's not the reason, because a lot of times, we kind of just go with the flow. When you have a kid who, like Sean, goes at his own pace anyway, and
Right.
if he's overwhelmed, which on the site they also on the Disney.com, the parks part of the page, they have it. If you put in the search box, put in like neurodivergent or you know, you'll get a page that looks like this for those of you who are watching. Um,
This is why
for
you need
those
to
of you
come
that
on
are watching.
Tuesdays you get the extra stuff.
Yep. So it says the accessibility planning thing, and it has all kinds of stuff. Like it has for those kids that need to know, like storyboard, like what's coming up. So like you're gonna either drive and then you're gonna park, or you're gonna take a bus. You know, like there's the different storyboards that they have to show them. Oh, you can do this, and then you're gonna eat, and you can make it. They show you how to make your own storyboards. They have just so much stuff. There's a list of like all the quiet places that like when you go into Adventureland, there's the benches that are right underneath the Swiss Family Robinson tree house. Like that's usually pretty quiet there. And then like in Liberty Square, there's what used to be Tiana's Garden. I don't know what it's called now, but it's out behind
Oh yeah,
the
behind the Christmas shop.
Yeah, behind the Christmas shop.
I
Yep,
just
out
found
behind
that
there.
for the first time ever. I was walking out of the park and I was talking to my camera like a moron, and there was a guy just taking this beautiful nap back there. There was no one there, and he's just on a bench out cold, and it was so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then across the street, gosh, okay, the last time we used this one was in 2010. It may not be there anymore because we never made it there with Sean, but across the street from the Christmas tree place, the Christmas tree shop, there's a little like place where you can go. There's a picnic table back there. It's kind of like in an alley. It's And we used it one time. My oldest son was having a complete meltdown while we were waiting for the Remember the Magic Parade. This was in 1999, and he was having a complete meltdown. And someone said, "There's a nice quiet spot back there if you want to take him back there to calm down." So my ex-husband took him back there, and they sat there for a while, and he got away from all um, the noise and the crowd, and just he had to desensitized there for a little bit. He was just
I,
over sensitized.
I've seen a lot of families who are not neurodivergent who probably need to use these quiet spaces a little better.
Yeah.
Yes. Because the kids just get overstimulated. I mean, it's
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just your normal 3, 4, 5, up to 8, 9, 10-year-old, who just need a break. They're in such a hurry to get to everything. And if I can tell anybody everything, you don't have to, even if it's your only one-time trip, before you go, look at the list of all the attractions and find out the ones that are absolutely you need to hit, and then the list of, okay, we'd like to hit these, and then have the list of things like if we miss that, no big deal.
Right. Which is kind
So
of how
that
we
That's how we do it still to
Yeah.
this day.
Yeah, I mean, we still do. I mean, and Sean's been 4 times and he's only 7 years old.
Right.
So I mean, that's the best thing to do. And like we've taken the time to like Tomorrowland wasn't too busy one particular day. It was 11:30, so it was close to lunch, and we were in Tomorrowland, and we went to the lunching pad, and we got one of those foot-long hot dogs and a Mickey pretzel and a water and a Pepsi, and we just sat there on the wall, the little like stone wall there,
Oh yeah.
and we just kind of sat there and just ate, and people watched and talked, and we were probably there for a good hour, and I took some really good pictures of him sitting there and just watching him kind of soak it in quietly. um Take those moments, okay, so we might have missed a ride, but okay, no big
We
deal.
I mean, and that's look, we could get really zen here, and that is a true lesson for all of life, right? That I told my kids that you're gonna miss something, right? No matter what you do in life, no matter where you go and how hard you try to do it, you're going to miss something. There's going to be a party you can't get to, or a job you don't get, or whatever goes on. And I think the way we started doing Disney my kids before they could really maybe remember it, because the twins were 1 and my oldest was 2. So I think the first 2 years we didn't pay for tickets for them because they were so little.
Yep.
And they knew we were coming back, right? So it was low expectations, high hopes, right?
Yep.
And we would shoot through there, and we, just like you said, there was one thing at Magic Kingdom we had to do. If it was Peter Pan this trip, or when Seven Dwarfs Mine, that became a big thing for us. And then Tron, even as teenagers, what are we going to do? What do we have to do? And then we'll let everything else, we'll do our best, right? We'll still work hard,
Yep.
but we'll let everything else fall where it may.
Yep. The other thing that they list, and I really like this, if you get there's maps that are specifically made for those who are in the disability category of, like, there's hearing, they have everything on there. There's hearing impaired, mobility impaired, sight impaired, neurodivergent, and they have all these things on this one particular map that you can pick up, and it'll tell you where the family bathrooms are. And I know from Vanessa and Andrew Prince that some of the bathrooms now have the adult changing table, so that if you have, like, when Andrew needs to use the restroom, his mother doesn't have to put him on the floor anymore. It'll hold his weight.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is spot on.
That's good.
Like, love it. Absolutely love it. Because even Sean, as a 7-year-old, when we go to Disney, I still put pull-ups on him because he doesn't always make it. He doesn't always have that trigger to tell him, oh, I've got to use the potty. So we put the pull-ups on him just, to be safe. So he can't go on a regular changing table. He's too heavy. And so having those are really nice, that, I love it. The other thing was my middle child and Sean both hate the regular restrooms because you have 900 automatic flushing toilets in there.
Oh, right.
And they don't just flush when you are done. Oh no, they'll flush
Right.
like 3 or 4 times when you're in there.
It is a cacophonic symphony of flushing.
Yeah, and they'll just, like, they got their hands over their ears and they're like, can we go now? No. So the family restroom, the you're in there with one toilet and you don't have to worry about that, is really nice. I wish they had more. I keep telling them, you need to put in more.
I think one thing, like, with the DAS pass, I first heard about it was when it made the news and people were abusing it. Like, it made the West 2 news. We were happening to be down there for a trip, and they were showing these people, like black market people, using their pass where they were being paid to use their pass. And I think about 2 weeks later is when Disney came out with the new rules and kind of chopped everything, and people were losing their minds. I'm like, okay, there's people like, I have asthma. Well, I hate to tell you, I have asthma, and guess what? I can stand in line. You can too.
Well, no, that's
not a disability. I'm sorry.
Right. And that's the question. So before, and it was about a year ago, they made these big changes, right?
Yeah.
Was the DAS pass broader? Was it were other people, like, and let's say you really did have some kind of severe asthma and could not walk through the parks correctly. I mean, I don't want to judge anybody. I know there's abuse. There's always abuse. But in that case, were they giving out passes for that?
They were giving out more, but now a lot of the queues are wide enough. You can have like an ECV.
Okay.
ECVs can go through them, or wheelchairs can go through them. So they're like, you can go through the turns. You can still go through the line. You don't have to. So they kind of stopped that because people were kind of using it as, well, we can't go through the line. Yeah, you can.
Right. Well,
I've taken an ECV through some of those, and I did it.
My wife and I were down there, and I had if you go back and look at old videos, I had this bandage across here because I'd had a cyst removed. I guess that's not gross. Anyway, I went down and had this bandage, and was buying maybe a Mickey bar or something at Epcot, and the girl's like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." You know, she's like, "You can get a pass for that for the rides, like a cast member," and I'm like, I'm good. There's nothing wrong with me at all. I'm absolutely fine. It's just, but I mean, and maybe she was being nice, right? But it just felt, it would be like me because I'm diabetic getting a handicap parking
Right.
thing, right? Like
Right.
I can walk from the back. In fact, I probably should walk from the back because more walking eats up more of my sugar, with no insulin. So, I just, gosh, I would feel really bad doing that. But I know my buddy, and like you said, people panicking because they didn't understand the rules and maybe Disney didn't release them the way they should have. But my buddy was panicking because, they go 4 times a year and it's only good for 6 months and then you got to go. And I do think they at one point in time got someone asking the questions who may not have been qualified to be asking the questions,
Yeah. So in the booklet and when they talk to you, so whichever ends sooner, either a year or when your ticket runs out, is when the pass runs out.
Okay.
So sometimes you buy a ticket and it's good for 6 months or but so whichever runs out first, and then you have to get another one. But I went on the call. I had his IEP, I had his diagnosis, and I was like, "Do I need these?" And she goes, "Oh, no, 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 no." She goes, "Just explain to me." She goes, "What would happen if he was in the line?" And I'm like, chaos. Like he'd get 5-10 minutes into that line and start to just freak out. And I'm like, and it would just ruin his time. And I don't want him to have that memory.
No.
And she's like,
No.
"Oh,
So that's an interesting
what was that?"
question. If you pull up on, let's say, Jungle Cruise and it's a 10-minute wait, can he rock a 10-minute wait, or is there a time limit, or is it really just the stimulation no matter what?
It kind of depends. If I sometimes like we have gone and I've been like, okay, it says it's a 10-minute wait, and I'll go up and I'll see how long it is. Sometimes I can keep him distracted because one of the things that I do, we each have a backpack when we go. So mine has like my charger, my charging cords, all that type of stuff, extra Ziploc bags in case things get wet, extra,
Right.
And then Sean has one that has fidgets in it and
Ah,
things. And they've even said if your kid could use an iPad, like so if you're waiting for the parade or whatever, and you could give them an iPad that would keep them distracted from things that are going on around them, bring an iPad, with some games on it.
oh yeah. How does that work? Waiting for fireworks or something? Do they
Well,
have a DAS
Sean
spot for
doesn't
that?
Sean doesn't do
Okay,
fireworks.
so that
He's
stops
like,
that
Then
problem.
it
nope.
fixes that question.
Yep.
So we
So
had a
like,
lady at work who had she takes a blood pressure medicine that she cannot be out in the heat for a long period of time. And
yep,
she says, "Do you think I could get that?" She would ask me about it, and I was like, "I don't know. I don't know if you can try it." So she did a call, had a note from her doctor about the medication, and she was able to, for like anything that had an outdoor queue, like
Q.
um, Seven Dwarfs or Big Thunder or something like that. She had a pass, but it was qualified for outside queues only.
Yep.
Oh,
They do kind of work with you on it for your different conditions. So I thought that was pretty cool that, yes, they have the pass and they can kind of, I don't want to say customize it, but they can
Yep.
help you out in the situation that you have.
Yep. So like another thing that they will do, like there was when we went in because this last visit I got an EVC because we were going on a cruise afterwards. And so I didn't want to kill myself the first week walking around and my legs just be gone when I knew we were going on the cruise. So I got an ECV and took that. But the trip before that, I have a walker. And it don't necessarily need the walker to walk. What I need is the seat that's with it because I have chronic back pain and I have heel spurs and plantar fasciitis and my arches fell. That was all. Thank you, military, U.S. Army. Thank you very much. And so when I would be in the queues with him, even those 10-15 minute, waits that we do when you get into the handicap line, I had to sit. But there was one day that we went by ourselves and Sean was in a stroller and I was like, I can't push him in the stroller and push my walker at the same time. And so I asked the guy, I said, is there anything that I can do that would, that I, and he goes, I have an idea. He says, let's put your stroller as a medical device. So there's a thing, so I could take the stroller into the queues when you can't bring stroller into the queues. So it had this little pass on it. So kids that have mobility issues that aren't in wheelchairs and things like that, they customize that for me so I could use that stroller to kind of like help myself. Like I could use it to balance myself and get off like one foot and stuff like
Right.
that. So I mean, they work with you. They find things that will help, which is really nice.
And
But
I like that and I think Disney overall does a really, really good job because one of my biggest frustrations in life is bureaucracy, getting in the way of common sense, right? You've got
right,
and Disney seems like they allow at least lower level employees to make decisions like that, right? Like they don't have to call 90 people and get an act of God to do something that's going to make sense for health, right? From a medical perspective, but also just from customer service, right? I mean,
yep,
obviously you remember it because you're still talking about it. It's so
yep,
weird. I didn't think about, I feel like I know you pretty well because I see you all the time, virtually, right? And I had
right.
no idea you had mobility, issues. We've met Sean and he pops in from the side of the screen every now and again, and we love him and he's cute as a button. And I wouldn't have known he was autistic, honestly, unless, from the little samplings I see of him, unless
Hmm.
you shared that with us. But it is interesting, the internet really is kind of an equalizer, right? Doesn't matter
Right.
who you are or what you can or cannot do. Again, right back to what you said, we're all on an even playing field here, which makes me happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
And that's kind of the hard thing is like I know like in the park, occasionally I would get those other guests that would kind of look like, well, why do they get to do that? And I'm going, yeah, you see my son in this moment
Right.
and you can't tell,
Hmm.
but you should have seen 20 minutes ago.
Right.
And he was, oh yeah, that was
Well,
a moment nobody would forget.
I
It
mean,
was
look,
good.
when I'm in and we haven't done, well, now Lightning Lane, we haven't done that much anymore because I just don't often want to spend the money, right?
Right.
We're debating on whether or not we're going to do it in California at the end of the month. But when I go through, I feel a little guilty. I'm like, I'm sorry. And then when I'm not in there, I'm like, oh, look at that, look at that guy. Who does he think he is walking up to the front of Frozen? Come on, buddy. And that's just fast pass. Like that guy doesn't have any problems. I'm just mad at him because he's going ahead of me. So, we all kind of get that way. Or, I'll be very honest with you, and I'm a choose the good kind of person, but you do get frustrated on Haunted Mansion when you're constantly stopping and stopping. And then I hadn't thought about it until Vanessa and Andrew are on the show that a lot of those are loading, right? It's just a
Hmm.
loading.
Yep. And I kept telling my dad, I was like, because he was like, why does it keep stopping? And I said, Dad, think about it this way. I said, right now, I'm actually moving pretty good today.
Right.
Having fibromyalgia, there could be a day where I'm just not up to par. I had to have them stop Winnie the Pooh. Or
Ah,
not Winnie the Pooh. No, it wasn't Winnie the Pooh. What was it? What else is on trail? Oh, it was Peter Pan. I had to have them stop Peter Pan for me
right.
because it was just that day. It felt like it was going 100 miles an hour. I was like, no, not going to happen. And so I had to have them stop. And I'm like, okay, people, this is where you take good pictures. Don't be mad at me.
Right. Yeah. It's not like it's a huge curse to be stuck on Haunted Mansion in one section. Oh, we're in front of the Hatbot Ghost for an extra 45 seconds. Life is over.
But I
Only
do hear
only thing I
people.
would say getting stuck going back down the when you fall down out of the attic. That's a good
Yeah.
napping spot to get
That's
stuck at
right.
because you lean back and you're like, hey, all right, let's take a nap.
Or on Spaceship Earth, Judy Dench can just lull
It's,
you to sleep. Let's take
yeah,
a look at your world. you know?
Think the Phoenicians.
Right,
But
exactly.
I do hear people complain, and I will usually, if like, oh, we're stopping, and I said, yeah, somebody needs help getting on, or somebody needs help getting off, and they're like, oh, okay, and they don't, because you don't, if you're not living that, you don't think of that.
No, it doesn't.
Um,
To cross your mind.
It doesn't. And
right,
look, we all have a tendency, I think, I hope it's not just me. We get a little selfish, right? We think about our money that we spent and where our plan, and that's again, planning as opposed to letting serendipity kind of guide us and put us in a spot where sometimes the worst things I've done or that happened to me ended up with the best results, right? Like
right,
if this ride hadn't broken down, then we wouldn't have gotten front seat over here and we wouldn't have gotten to meet Mickey as he was walking by or whatever it is, right? Like
yep.
it's just, you got to be patient. It's a big park and it's a lot of people. And even if everyone had superpowers, it would be a problem, right? The lines would always be there and, someone's walking this way and someone's walking this way. There's not lanes. I am trying to find a nice way to make fun of the
I know what you're
people
going to say, and there's no nice way to do it. Move out of the beepity beep way. You're in a walkway.
who stop
Don't
in the
stand
middle
there.
of the pathway.
What's
Oh, yeah.
worse,
That is
Polynesian
my pet peeve too.
fountain or people standing in the middle?
Now look, if your mom fell out of the little scooter, the Jazzy, and you got to take care of her, no problem. I understand their extenuating circumstances.
You pull
And
out a map.
I wish I was better at eCam so I could bring it up, but I do have a video and I couldn't hide it. And I'm walking through Galaxy's Edge and there's literally a family of 4. And I mean, it's hard to do.
Mhm.
In the dead center, they just sat down and had a snack. They're just eating in the middle. And it's funny, but I don't want to be mean, right? Even though it's so bad. It's
Let's see,
so
Walter,
bad.
I was in an
Uncle Walt would
ECV
be
this
disappointed.
vacation.
What's that again?
Uncle Walt would be disappointed. Move.
Maybe.
I was in an ECV this last October, and I would be behind people, and they literally would stop, like right in front of me, and it's like
Hit 'em.
those things don't stop on a dime. When you let off the gas, it takes a little while for it
Yeah.
to stop.
Yeah.
It
It's
says
so
right
great.
here in the mobility tab on Disney's site that if you're in an ECV and someone stops short, feel free to run them down.
Yeah, takes their
Right.
ankles out.
That's from Disney.
So,
that's not me.
we-
I didn't make that's right
We
here on.
watched the parade down by the fire station, and it was my mom and dad and all of us. And we're standing right there, and there was this couple. They were facing each other with the the little go karts. That's what I call them. Well, they go to
ECVs.
leave, and they went towards each other. Well, they got this armrest hooked in with this armrest and couldn't move, and they're yelling at each other. And I looked at this poor cast member and went, "They're your problem." She's like, "Oh my god, how do they do this?"
And Andrew brings up here that they recently updated for at least annual passers to a year or so, which is good.
Yep,
That's cool.
that's awesome.
I mean, and that's what I think that was my buddy's frustration, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I think he was kind of like, hey, we've been annual pass holders for X amount of years. My daughter's condition's not getting better. It's never going to change, And at that point, I think it was like either every trip they had to redo it. There were some growing pains, right? And I think Disney does a good
Right.
job of listening to their people and coming up with good things for them. But it's just so nice because look, it's like when I go in there and I do stuff for the YouTube channel, I want to stay as invisible as possible. If someone wants to jump in my video, great. But it's not about making the video. It's about whoever's there. And it's there. I think Beatrice said it when she was on, it's somebody's first time. It's somebody's big day, right?
Mhm.
And you don't want to ruin it with some jerk with a camera who's got to get the perfect shot of the dragon breathing fire for the 100th time, like no one's ever seen it. And you're the first person filming it. But,
Yep.
So I will stand off to the side because it's for kids, right? At least in my opinion. It's a kids park. And if it's not just a kids park, then it's a place that adults and kids are supposed to have fun together, right? That was literally, if they did mission statements back then, kind of what Walt put together. Place where everyone could go. To all who come, welcome, right?
I'm talking about kids
So
getting
one of the things I
overstimulated.
want
Go ahead. Go
when
ahead,
you
Karen.
go ahead, Andrew.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you hang
No,
up.
you go ahead.
No, you hang up.
Guest
So
first.
when you call and get the DAS pass, they will send you something that you can download, and it'll have like all of those places listed that I was talking about earlier, where the quiet places that you can rest and stuff like that.
So
They have a nice.
I was going to say, I don't know exactly what the home tab is for this, but I found it through, like you said, by just saying divergent, not neurodivergent, and I'm sure you could do mobility. There's a lot of information here, like Braille maps, and they'll give you little things that read. I mean, it's unbelievable how much stuff. Right, closed caption
that are deaf. Yep, which I use those, and it's like $25, and you get that back when you return it.
Oh, good. I was going to say, I don't.
Yeah,
they should charge for it. They tell you where your service animal can go and where the relief areas are.
Did you know that you can bring a service pony into the parks?
It's a pony? Like
I know,
Nay?
just mind blew you. A service pony. So some people have service
where you
dogs,
walk.
but there are service ponies. I know.
Oh, so I don't want to call you names, Karen, but I was going to call you a liar. But you're not. I just happened to be on the page, I swear, in specific guidelines, and I'm not making this one up. A service animal is a dog or miniature horse that has been individually trained to do work or perform tasks for an individual with a disability.
I remember I read that and I was like, I can't imagine.
Okay. Now it says service animals must be housebroken. How do you housebreak a pony? Is that a possibility?
I don't
big
know.
litter box.
That was my thought. I'm like, I know when so part of when I worked Main Street Daily Operations, okay, and they did the trolley show and the horse would bring the trolley, it knew where to stop. Well, there was a cast member that would go along with the horse that had a broom and a little scooper thing and would scoop up whenever they made the mess. So I'm sitting here going, if you're walking with a pony, how do you know that the pony's done it?
And somebody steps in it and they start yelling.
Things that make you go,
Okay. You do need to be warned that your pony may not be able to ride some attractions. And
I can't imagine a pony riding any attraction.
Well, it just says some, and your animal may not, so your pony cannot get on the table or dining chairs, and they're not allowed to swim in anything.
Not to get off topic, we were talking to a minivan driver one night. We how'd you get the job? He said, well, I started out at security. We said, oh, that must be fun. You got anything to happen? He said, yeah, one day I'm at Animal Kingdom, and this lady brings her book bag up to be checked. And I'm at the next table over, and this guy opened up his bag and throws it back and says a few 4-letter words and says, ask for somebody else to come over to look. She had a service animal. She said a python was her service animal, and it was in the book bag.
Yeah. Well, Caleb wanted to know if you could have a service turtle.
I have an alligator that IDs as a dog. Can I take it?
I would need a service animal if somebody showed up with a python next to me at a table.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So Andrew wants will the pony fit in the cages like at Remy? Okay, so I assume you're being serious, Andrew. It says that your dog was trained to hold it for over 12 hours, and I think you're being serious. But I'm just curious what kind of puppy that was. Like, we have labs. I love labs, and they can go at least 8.
I have a friend who trains service animals for veterans, and they are trained to go when you tell them.
I just hope that there's not somewhere with somebody with a service pony listening to this right now and deleting me from their account because we're making fun of their service pony. I mean, that's pretty fascinating. Like the thing that is amazing to me is that it is common enough that there are only 2 animals mentioned in service.
Yep.
Dog and pony. That pony or miniature horse, not a pony. Sorry.
And I'm going to tell you, my friend, he has seizures, and that dog will let him know before he even knows.
I've seen that. It's incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yep. Crookshanks is an amazing dog. He's a not a Sheltie. What's Lassie?
Border a
Um,
collie.
Collie.
Collie. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So Andrew says golden retriever, and he was trained to hold it,
Oh
and they
yeah,
had a
that's a
hand
good
sign.
dog. Yep.
That's so
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, see? A hand sign for potty. Yeah, they know. They're told when to go. Like you can go here. Oh, okay.
And look, they've got to have rules, right? Because people are going to try to scam it. And look, I'm not going to lie to you. That would be a nice way to go to Disney, to be able to go up to a ride. Okay, now let me ask you this. So how many of those can you have at a time? Is it the same as a lightning lane? Like if you, let's say you get there right at 9 and you book Small World at 11, can you book another one and go, or do you have to use your DAS and then do another one?
So when we go in, so when we like say we've got okay, so I'll go back to the one I was doing before. When we got to Jungle Cruise, as soon as we had our, did our um,
Magic Band.
magic band and went through, and we're standing in the line because
Gotcha.
usually it's like 5 or 10 minutes. Um, we will go and look at the next one
Right.
and
So that,
say, okay, so
It's like a fast
Pirates
pass.
of the Caribbean has a 25-minute wait. Okay, so we'll put in for Pirates now. By the time we get through that, through the Jungle Cruise, and then we walk over to Pirates, we're pretty close to walking in. Sometimes we sit in the tables across at Tortuga. We'll sit there for a little bit,
right.
but then sometimes we'll um, just be able to walk right on.
And I mean, this is a dumb question, right? But does Sean love going?
Yeah. Like he wants to know when we're going again, and I'm like, well, I really want to take you to Disneyland next. And I said it's going to take us, because flights alone are going to be the most expensive part of the trip.
So we're flying the 30th of this month, and it was $500 round trip for both of us on Spirit. Now well, technically we're flying into LA and out of San Jose because we're running up to Pixar. Did I mention that my kid is doing this internship? No, but I thought that my wife found that, and I thought that was a pretty good deal. I will tell you what though, our Disneyland tickets are like almost $200 a piece. It's more expensive.
Disneyland's ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like Universal.
I had no idea.
That other dark place over there.
Right. So our plan for that, we debated about it this morning. I think I'm only going to do Disneyland. I'm not going to do California Adventure, which kind of bums me out because I want to see that Marvel campus. But I really want to go soak in the 70th stuff, and I don't want to rush around. So I think what we're going to do is buy just Disneyland tickets and do Lightning Lane out there to really try to get the whole park done.
Yep. Because I want to do 4 days with him at Disneyland.
Yeah.
I want to do 2 at Disneyland and then 2 at California Adventure, because this will probably be a one and done for us. I
Right.
mean, this is a what, so we will do 2 days each park, and that way, like we don't do Lightning Lane. We don't do,
Neither do we.
we didn't do any of the passes before. Because the DAS pass, I mean, even though you're kind of waiting in line, like I said, if we click on, Jungle Cruise and it's a 35-minute wait, and we walk up there and we still got 15 minutes, but oh, hey, look, Tiki Room is, about to
Right.
go in. We can do Tiki Room and then get that done. And so you can still fill it in with things that don't have a long line. Country Bears, we can usually, stick in there and hi, Kyle.
Well, Kyle stopped by. I just like to put him up there just for watching. I think it's so cool that anyone stops and watches it all. Yeah, I loved Fast Pass, and I miss it. I miss that there's not free something.
It's the paper fast pass.
Yeah. Yep. We've discussed it. We had a whole show on it. I wish I was organized enough to tell you what number that was. But again, I think the perfect solution is that, and maybe you limit it to staying on property. I don't know. I realize you can't give it to everyone, but I like the idea of 1 at a time free, 3 at a time paid. And then, you could really go crazy with the premiere and spend $300. Mm-hmm. But I mean, look, if I don't buy Fast Pass, that's my coffee for like the entire trip, right?
They
Right.
could even open a fifth park and reduce the number of people they let into a park so that people can do the attractions.
They'll
But they're
never
not
do
going
that. Yeah.
to. They're not going to do
I've
Never
that.
ever will they do that.
shame my son, I think, asked the same thing. He's like, "Oh, when they open Villains, won't they that'll no, because it's like a bar or a restaurant, right? You've got room for 1,500. But if you put tables in there, now it's only 1,200. And if you put, you and they're not going to do that. They're going to maximize their space. And
Yeah,
and in
they're
some
going to
ways
sit
I want them
there.
to.
They're going to sit there in all the indoor places. They're going to know exactly how many people you can have in at a time. And then
Right.
they're going to look at the square footage of open space and say, okay, it's, it's so many people per square, it's like they
And
have
it's
it
a
as an equation.
it's a fire marshal thing, right? I mean, that's what
Yep, a fire
that's
marshal thing. Yep,
so
yep.
it's
I
not
That's
don't
what I
even
know
couldn't
the
understand
exact
about
number.
New Year's Eve. We started standing in line for the fireworks at 8:30, and come 10 o'clock, if you had claustrophobia, you couldn't be in Magic Kingdom. It was
oh
ridiculous.
yeah,
I'm like, if there was a fire right now, pardon my language, where the hell are we going to go?
it'd be tough.
50th anniversary. 50th anniversary, the whole entire hub, an hour and a half, 2 hours before the fireworks were even going to go off. It was so cram packed. And my mom just gave Sean her phone and said, "Have a good time."
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
He played with it, and he took all kinds of pictures, and
And he
did whatever
survived
he
it.
was going to.
Well,
Yep,
still,
and
kids
you
getting
couldn't move,
overstimulated. That would do it right there, sitting in all those
which is the
people.
reason why we haven't done it since. We did it that one day, and I was just like, we kept him entertained. We had bubbles, we had snacks, and like even like the people kind of around us saw that he was having a hard time, and like some of the kids were trying to play with him, and
We've done that. It's pretty fun.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Do
But
they
it
have a
was
DAS area for fireworks? I think I asked this, but I can't remember. Do you know? Is there a spot?
I I don't know because like I said, that was the one time we've seen the fireworks at Disney. Other than Fantasmic, he hasn't sat
And
for a
he loves
firework.
Phantasmic, right? You were saying.
Oh yeah, he loved Fantasmic. Anything
Hmm.
with Steamboat Willie, he was just like excited. That was the thing. Steamboat Willie.
So
Yeah,
they
he loved
recommend,
watching the old ones.
yeah, they recommend like a party, doing a
Yeah,
party.
those are feasible. Yeah.
Or you're right. You know what? This might be the ticket. I mean, for everybody, but you go to Grand Floridian or something. Go over Contemporary and watch them from there,
Yep.
which is a beautiful view anyway. You know where
Yeah.
my new favorite place to watch fireworks is over by Tron. So if you're going up like you're going to go ride Tron, and you go stand before the coaster starts, looking out that way, I mean, you get a really nice view of the fireworks.
My favorite place to watch Wishes, and nobody got to see this like I did because I was a cast member at the time. They were practicing Wishes for the very first time. So we stayed after we closed the park. The last person left,
That's
and
cool.
we had to kill some time because they wait a period of time before and they were setting it all up and everything. And we went down to the hub, and the Imagineers who designed Wishes were there. And so our manager at the time, he's like, "Hey, these are the Imagineers who came up with the show." He goes, "So, let them know how you like it." So there was a little bit of a breeze that night. It was going from uh, Tomorrowland to Adventureland. It was heading, it was going that way. And they started the show, and I don't know how many people remember the Wishes, but when they play the Phantasmic song, dun 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 dun, on every beat, there was a
I remember that.
rocket
Yeah,
going off.
I do too.
But okay, so we at the end of the show, there was so much smoke in the square, in the hub, that we were like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic!" There were not that many fireworks. What we saw that night was not what ended up in the final show, but because they ended up doing it dun dun da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun 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 was how the end product came out. So they had to cut it down by
Hmm.
several. But no, because there were so many fireworks. It was just all smoke, but it was so fantastic. And to cheer and jump up and down, and the Imagineers were right there, and we let them know that this is an amazing show. To see like the heart, when it comes up, and the star comes up, and we were
That's
like,
so
this is
cool.
it was such a fantastic show. And then the night that Michael Eisner came to see the show, we couldn't acknowledge him. We couldn't go like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Eisner," which I so inside was dying to do. But we were, because he was walking out there. Now, this man is over 6 feet tall. He's not the easiest person to hide. And everybody knows his face because they watched Wonderful World of Disney,
Right.
But he walked out. He wanted to watch it on Main Street like everybody else did. And a friend of mine got a picture of this. I wasn't in the picture, but you can see one of my other friends. We were in our candy striper looking uniforms, but he was there she wasn't working that night. She got a picture of him, but we were about where Center Street is, or a little bit further back from that. But we were there in case people started mobbing him and he needed to get off stage. But surprisingly, he made it through the whole show, and he got to listen to everybody cheer that, and he
That's
was so
cool.
excited. Yeah, it was
That's
so
cool.
exciting to watch him he wasn't, I mean, he was watching the show, but he was watching the people watch the show. So
Well, Center Street is listed as one of the quiet places. So if you need to go
Yep.
relax, they recommend you go to Center Street.
Yep.
Karen, thank you so much for coming on late. I'm not going to lie. I actually forgot today was Tuesday. I was driving home and I was like, oh my gosh. I asked my wife, what's today? So you know what, again, low expectations for the show and no planning, and it worked out great. But when you bring great people on, that we can just sit here and talk about Disney for at least an hour without even blinking. So I hope some of this helps some folks too. Again, it's not my world, but it's fascinating to understand how it works. And if you don't have some appreciation for it, at least maybe you'll have a little more patience next time your ride stops for a little while.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Stop and smell the roses.
And if you have any, like, I see if I could get some help here. Call them and ask. Make an appointment to talk to the cast member, and say, hey, this is what our issues are. And like Andrew brought up, they had a modified type of pass to help them out. I mean, anything cast members are there to help you. They want you to have a great time. Go to guest services, bring up your issue, and find out what you can do. But honestly, do it ahead of time. Call the cast member on the app has the link to make an appointment for,
because this does look like all Disney things. It requires a lot of planning, right? It requires some forethought so that you can enjoy yourself while you're there and you're not running around trying to get questions answered and find people and get things done. So yeah, check it out. But the Disney website was way more comprehensive than I'd expected it to be. So that's wonderful.
And a small backpack with fidgets and a headset and earplugs and wipies, because some kids don't like when their hands are dirty. Just all those little things that you can think of that, you bring a backpack and it'll make your life so much easier. Just a little tiny backpack that they can carry.
We need to rope drop Sean next time for Peter Pan so he can enjoy that queue for a few minutes before it fills up and gets crazy and people start screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And like that one. Andrew says, being kind to cast members. I mean, and this is just good. Again, Disney advice is usually good for all of life, right? Go get a lot more with sugar than you do with vinegar. So thank Andrew. I'm over here on Mouse Gears and I love that new video, buddy.
Funny, yeah.
I'm not making fun of Andrew. I'm trying to push him to do it because
he's pushing me to do it. I just can't make myself post it.
Because I know you want to. And just remember that for the first 2 years, no one's looking at it anywhere but me and you.
Yes.
And then that just pushes you to try to get better and better. Karen, again, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate you being so generous. And I'll,
yes, Karen, thanks.
If you're looking for it, all three of us will be tomorrow night. It'll be right here back on YouTube or Facebook in WDW as long as Lou goes live. I assume he will.
I'm assuming he'll be live
4:30 there.
He's in California doing that trip though.
I know. So it'll be 4:30 and I'm wondering if he'll be able to stop. He might not be able to.
No
You know, it's
pressure.
funny. So
They were at the
he's
studios today.
they're doing 2 of those ADBs, and if the second ADB for Adventures by Disney is the same schedule, we'll both be at Disneyland on the same day on August 30th.
Ooh.
So I'm thinking about stalking him a little bit. And then I am going to, I don't know what'll happen next week. I leave Friday for the Keys. We'll be in Key West. I think I may have accidentally not canceled my StreamYard account. So we may be able to go live next week, but I am going to do my best on the 20th of July to get to Magic Kingdom by 3 p.m., sit down and live stream the new parade.
Oh,
So
cool.
The
I
3
will,
o'clock parade.
what's that?
What time's the
The
3 o'clock parade?
Oh, I got asked a lot. What
No,
time is the
right.
3 o'clock parade?
No, the new nighttime one.
I know,
And,
but it's,
and I think
you know,
it's
3 o'clock.
9:30 and 11:45 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So I'm going to try, but I will over post that to make sure. All right. Thanks,
Oh, please
guys.
do.
See you
Yeah.
next week.
Thank you.
Have a great
Have a
night.
good night.